Okay, here is the latest update on this potential event coming up for the end of the week, first part of the weekend. And I have to say that right now I am less impressed today than I have in the past couple of days, particularly with Saturday in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. And I'll show you why here as we go through this presentation here. And here we have, as usual, our surface pressure and dew point. And of course, now we do still have the very high dew point air. I'll outline that there. There's a lot of high dew point air in the region here, so that's not an issue. And we still have low pressures, but if you notice now, this front is not as sharp, not as well defined as it was the past couple of days on the model. We still have, you can still see where it is, but it was just, clear as day the past couple of days. And here's our low pressure system up here, and the front is kind of in here like this. So I mean, there is still a front, and this is 1,008 millibars, so there's certainly low enough pressure to create low level lift, but it's not as well defined as we've seen the past couple of days on the model. So that's one thing there. Now here's our 925 millibar jet. Now remember yesterday when I was showing this to you, in this region here we had 40, 50 knot max jet winds in here at 925. Those are nowhere to be found in the now. That's now up in this region here. So a weaker jet. The 850 jet is decent, but again, we had quite a wide area of 50 knot jet in this region here. So it is a weaker jet that we're looking at. And now here's our 300 millibar. You can see we're still in the right rear quadrant here, or the entrance region, however we want to put it. And we still have some pretty good divergence in here. Here we have the winds like that, and here we have the winds kind of going like this. So we do have our divergence in here. So that's still in play as far as severe weather goes. But weaker front, weaker jet. It's not as impressive as it was yesterday. Now here's another thing here. Now here's our 850 millibar relative humidity, and it's very moist in there. Now remember yesterday where I showed you there was a nice dry intrusion in here with the going along with the good dynamics of the 925 and 850 jet. Well, look what happens. That's displaced to the south now, that dry intrusion. So you have the jet is up in here, and here's your dry intrusion down here. So it's kind of, it was a lot more aligned yesterday as far as that goes. Now our instability still very high. We still have some very nice instability, 2,000 plus all through the region, some 3, 4, and 5,000 Cape values in there as well. So there is certainly buoyancy to deal with, and like I said, there is still a lifting mechanism at the surface. Here's our lifted index, still very high, 6, 7, 8. Here we're getting into the 10 to 12 range back in here. So there's a lot of buoyancy, a lot of lift to be had. Now here is our bulk shear, and look here, most of that is up to the north. As far as the really good shear goes. The region down in here that we've been looking at for severe weather potential that had some pretty decent bulk shear yesterday, that's now been displaced up to the north on the latest run. So that's something to be watching as far as severe weather going forward in time. Now let's go to Saturday, and I'll show you why I'm really concerned that if you're really looking for a major severe weather outbreak Saturday, you might be in for a disappointment. I'm not saying there's not going to be any. I'm saying the major outbreak that's been being advertised, and it's been on the SPC for the past 3-4 days now. I'm a little concerned about that right now. Here's our dew point and surface pressures. Here's our 1,008 millibar line up in here. And again, the front is much less pronounced than it was the past couple of days in the models. It's kind of, sort of, kind of maybe in there. It's not as well defined as it was yesterday, to be certain. Now we'll go to 925. Now there's really no jet at 925 across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Yesterday there was some semblance of one. There was a piece up here. There was a piece back here. Now it's just gone. It's out of the picture. If you remember yesterday and the day before at 8:20, at 8:50, there was still a jet hanging back. We'll watch what happens with the latest run. Nothing. Gone. The jets offshore, and it's heading up into there. So that certainly is a red flag right now, that we've kind of lost that. I mean, there's still some semblance of a jet back here, but it is not as pronounced, not nearly as strong as it was. So certainly something to be watching. Here is our 300 millibars, and now here we have another issue. We have kind of a split jet max here. So here's one a right rear quadrant up in here, and you can see there is some divergence up in here. Up in that region there is some divergence. But here's the problem. We have a second max coming in here. So now the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, well, yes, there is some semblance of a right rear quadrant here. There's also a right front quadrant coming in to the region. And you can see that, if you remember yesterday, I showed that there was very nice divergence over this area here. But today, the latest run, that divergence is pretty much non-existent. It's weak. If you want to say here's the flow here, kind of a more sort of westerly flow there. There's some very weak divergence there, but not nearly as strong as it was yesterday. So that's a concern there. And again, here's our 850 millibar moisture. Here's our 700. So there really wasn't much of a dry intrusion yesterday. I'm just showing you that it's still not there today. Also, the instability is a lot less than it was. Now, certainly 2,000, 2,500 joules per kilogram is going to, is sufficient. But remember, yesterday we had 3,000, 3,500 across this region. So that's less pronounced. Lifted index, yes, there is some decent lifted index, but it's not as widespread as it was on the past couple of days. So all the parameters are less impressive today than they were yesterday. And here's our bulk shear, and that's way, way up to the north as pertains to what we had yesterday. So I'm not saying there is not going to be severe weather on Saturday. I'm just saying that I'm seeing less and less evidence of there being a major outbreak. We will see how things change over the next 24 hours and keep you updated. I am meteorologist Jim Rinaldi.